To the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is already, I forgot the exact title. Oh my gosh, how funny. The title of today's topic is Polarities. So, what we're going to be talking about is the growth and transformation required by us to be able to hold polarities in a time where it feels like there's so much division, to create unity and connection. So before we get started, though, let's take a couple minutes to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any negativity, tension, stress, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, energizing, electrifying all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and lighting you up from the inside out. And as you exhale, exhale any vestiges of tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together. Very, very, very softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, in these marvelous bodies that allow us to experience all the experiences of life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it's Friday already. And just sort of as a continuation of our conversation throughout the week, we're going to be talking about polarities and how to hold polarities, how to expand ourselves in such a way that we can hold these radically opposing views and without going nuts. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us today. Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday to you too. So we're talking about polarities, and we have been talking about that really throughout the week. But I think that we get to look at, again, we've been talking about how change occurs is destruction preceding creation, that old forms have to dissolve before new forms can fully emerge. And when we talk about polarities, what we can notice is that the impression or illusion of division is becoming, or seems to be, more and more prominent. And what we get to do, and this is the key to problem solving or to resolving conflict, is to rise to a higher plane, where it's possible to find commonality, to rise to a higher plane where there is something that we can agree on. So we may very heartily or actively disagree about the mechanisms of how something should occur, but on some level we can rise to a place where we have a common value, where we hold a common value, or where we have a common interest. And if we can rise to that place, then that becomes the place from which we can generate solutions. And I see this also in looking at issues. We had a wonderful movie night last night on the Sustainability Now movie night. We have a movie night every Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m. And we aired an interview with a woman that I have such tremendous admiration and respect for, named Helen Slotjay. And she was one of, if not the primary person to get fracking banned in New York State. And the thing that is so remarkable about Helen is the way that she thinks. And it was through her thinking that she was emboldened and enabled to create this remarkable result. She won the Goldman Environmental Prize in 2014 for this, where only one person from each continent in the world is honored with this award. And she was the recipient because of the radical transformation and change that she was able to inspire and implement in the face of essentially a Goliath, the fossil fuel industry. And so the thing that was so profound about the way that she approached this was when people were calling for regulation of fracking and fossil fuel industry, she was calling for a ban. So what she did was she looked at what was going on with the big picture. Like the little picture is this is how it is. The industry, the fossil fuel industry is here to stay, and the best that we can do is try and regulate it. And what she talked about is this idea of, having a mass murderer, serial killer running loose in your neighborhood who's killed all kinds of other people in all other kinds of places, and not being able to lock your door, because why should you be able to protect yourself when other people haven't? Anyway, I'm all over the place this morning, but what she looked at is the consensus view was that there wasn't anything to do to be able to stop this, that the best that we could do was regulate it. And she looked at the costs, the way that it worked. Welcome. I'm not sure what your name is, Blessed Tarot Sessions, but so good to have you here with us. Welcome. So we're talking about holding polarities. And so here in this, I think that when we enable ourselves to hold polarities and rise to a higher place to recognize what the intention is, then more options present themselves. So what happened in this situation was that there were laws saying you couldn't regulate the oil and gas industry. However, there were also local laws that allowed, or local provisions that allowed for making land use laws that protected the community, to say, we're not going to allow heavy machinery in these areas. We're not going to allow heavy industry in these areas. We're going to preserve the quality of the land, and no sound pollution and no air pollution and whatever in these particular districts within the community. And as a result of implementing those protections on a local level, it just happened to restrict the ability of the oil and gas companies to come in and frack, because it was a violation of these local laws. So, or permitting constraints. So the thing is, what happened in that situation was taking a broader view of why is it that we don't want this industry? Well, what is it doing? It's disrupting our neighborhoods. It's disrupting our water supply. It's disrupting the traffic, the sound, the comfort of the community. And by thinking outside the box, a solution was being able to be found. And we talked about being outside the box this week. And part of this, I believe it is a spiritual growth opportunity, a spiritual awakening requirement for us if we're going to transcend this challenge of polarization that we're facing in seemingly ever more extreme ways. So I think we get to look at the issues that we're facing as, especially from a spiritual level, to look at the divisiveness of it, and to look at how people are getting pitted against other people, whether it's politically or medically or racially. It's craziness. Like, there's been, if we look at the past year and a half, more than that, really, past 5 years, we can see that there's been a tremendous acceleration of polarization, of enmity, of othering. And with this, the othering is a way that we are separating ourselves from ourselves. That in fact, we are intimately connected, that we are all one. We're one global family. We're one expression of life on this planet, with the life on this planet. You know, that we are part of nature, that we are part of the planet, that we are part of one another, that the impact of one impacts all. The butterfly effect, for instance, that, you know, that butterfly flapping its wings on one part of the world can be influencing a tsunami in another part. And as we, the way toward overcoming this polarization is to move into a greater and greater awareness of our unity, to move into a greater and greater awareness of our connection with one another. And that is a spiritual quest. That is a spiritual awakening. And Blessed Tarot Session says we are one. It affects all 100%. And we see this with the impact that we've been having on nature, on the climate, on the planet. We see this with the way that we are othering human beings. We see this with the way that the extinction rate of life forms on this planet is rising. And I think it's almost like human beings have been in kind of an adolescent phase where we've been so self-absorbed that and self-focused that we haven't recognized the inner relationships and the impact that we're having. And I guess I get to recharacterize that because I know that there are a rising number, thankfully, of adolescent activists that really truly are aware of our impact on the planet and on one another. But I think that humanity has been in an phase of immaturity, and we have the opportunity as light bearers. And what I mean by light bearers is carrying a higher frequency intention of love, connection, and unity, transformation, that we have an obligation and responsibility to be finding a way to move into this higher frequency of oneness and connection, even in the face. Maggie, ow, ow, ow. Oh my gosh. Maggie has this thing about feet, and she just ended up on the floor and attacked my foot, my bare foot, and she bites really hard and has a very sharp beak. So I apologize for that, but I'm like in pain here. Anyway, to be finding this place within ourselves that can expand enough to include the representations of consciousness that other people are as part of ourselves, to recognize those parts of our own awareness, our own consciousness that may not show up exactly in that way, but it's like going back, and we've done this many times, go back to the Ho'oponopono prayer, where we are connecting and being accountable for all manifestations in the world, rather than creating the separation of me and you as separate and distinct. What if it's all me? In other words, what if it's all you? And these are aspects of ourselves that we get to heal in order to transcend the polarity, in order to move beyond the polarity, in order to dissolve the polarity, in recognition of our wholeness. And I think that is the paradigm shift that needs to occur on all levels in order for us to weather this transition. That culturally and historically, human beings have warred with each other and othered one another in multitudes of ways, and we are enculturated to do that. We are enculturated to be comparing ourselves to other people rather than seeing ourselves in other people. There's a big difference. There's a fundamental difference of perspective there when we perceive someone as an enemy. What is it that's happening there? What is it when we're scapegoating people? What is it when we're presuming that that others are not as worthy as we are, or that we're not as worthy as others? What is it that's happening there? What's happening is that we are perpetuating this illusion of separation, and we're called now to find the path to unity. And Blessed Tarot session says, separate ourselves from others is a template, a duality. Exactly. And that's exactly what we're talking about, the duality, the polarities, that in fact, those polarities are connected, right? There's a resonance, whether it's in opposition or not, like a magnet, right? But when we can unify those polarities, when we can unify that duality, then there's a whole new realm of possibility. And there's so much about the consensus reality that we just accept. You know, we accept that there has to be struggle, that we accept that there's strife, we accept that we accept the notion of war, we accept the notion of other, we accept so many fundamental perspectives that we never even questioned. And when we expand ourselves enough to be able to hold and encompass the polarities, then we are creating a unity. We are creating union. And this doesn't mean that individuality disappears. It doesn't mean that our individual expression is diminished in any way. But what if we were collectively working toward the ends that we want? You know, most of us, I mean, I can't imagine that there's anyone that doesn't want to be able to breathe clean air and drink clean water and live in a healthy environment. And the thing is that because of the paradigm we have this idea of, well, if you have clean air, then it's taking away from mine, which is insane, right? And I'm using clean air especially as an example because it's ridiculous. You know, like if I want clean air and I can afford to have the things that are making the air dirty in a different community, that I'm not affected. Well, it's not true that we're not affected, right? Because air travels. We know this now very vividly, even with studies around the wildfires on the West Coast. People on the East Coast are experiencing the impact of the air quality because of the fires. You know, hello, we're all connected. And so we get to recognize this interconnection, whether we're able to embody it fully or not. It is a fact. It is a fact that we all affect one another. And in order to come to the place where it's possible to really move us forward collectively on the planet, we've got to shift ourselves to be able to truly hold the polarities, and then we become the bridge. And I think that this is true energetically, philosophically, and Blessed Tarot Session says we have to raise the vibration. That's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about operating at a different frequency. So the illusion of separation and opposition and polarity is what serves to keep us in a lower vibration of opposition and violence and distrust and even despair, you know, because we're alone or we're separate. And it's not true. It's the biggest lie that's been perpetrated throughout our history. And we're called on now to be making that shift more urgently than ever before in human history on this planet. And as light bearers, or as people who are committed to awakening in one way, shape, or another, this is our first call, is to find a way to create connection, even in the midst of what feels like threat, even in the midst of what feels like irreconcilable differences. And there may be places where there are irreconcilable differences, and it's then beholden to us to find the place of communion, a place where those differences become displaced by connections that dwarf them, but where we can, there's always a place that we can find a connection. Good morning, Bernadette. We're talking about holding polarities and expanding. Ow! Sorry. She got me again. She was down on the floor and she bit my foot again. And every time she bites me, she leaves these awful purple welts and triangular bruises. And it's just not fun. So yes, she's being a little bit of a monster bird this morning. Anyway, I think that we can find, yes, definitely. Campo. So Bernadette says, "Oh, bad girl, Maggie. Campodonico? What's Campodonico? I don't know what that means, but she drew blood on my foot actually this time. That's bad. Oh well. Anyway, I think that we can remind ourselves to find presence, to find connection, and to expand ourselves, to hold these polarities without, maybe the key is to not be, oh, I see. So Bernadette says, "Oh, bad girl, Maggie." It linked to one of my friends and I had to delete it. Oh, okay, I see. That's funny. That's funny. Your friend's going to get a message that she's a bad girl. Too funny. Yeah, Maggie, she's got her own thing, and it's so interesting. She's an attack bird. Just out of nowhere, she'll attack me sometimes. She'll attack the cat. She'll go after, there's a pen that she hates, she'll go after them. Anyway, she's a character. Yeah, so unity, that's what we're up for, right? And I challenge all of us to find a place to connect with one another. So welcome, Tammy, and Blessed Tarot Session says have to go to work, but I'll definitely watch later. Thank you for being with us, and we're actually wrapping up now. So I'm so glad you all had the opportunity to join us, and you enrich my day so profoundly. I can't even say thank you enough. So I wish you a wonderful weekend, and grace. I wish grace to us all. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern. And please check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, the EWN One with the Earth and Enlightened World Living. And wishing you a weekend of peace and grace and joy. So much love.